Hello, Steeler Nation, my friends out there. It's great to see you. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Alongside with me, it's Tony Defeo. We are both from behind the steel curtain, and we are bringing you today our Monday tradition in the offseason as the Steeler Q&A. You know it by the hangover when we have reasons to be hungover, and that's after a game. But with that being said, we're going to answer your questions, but keep your questions for in about 20 minutes. And we will go ahead and listen to everything you got to say. Because remember, this is your show, my live chat. And the first two names that I see, first two out of the three names that I see in the live chat, one's from Brazil and one's from Australia. So that is absolutely incredible. Tony, Steeler Nation, nationwide, BTSC, baby.
It's always awesome to see so many people from all around the world follow us and follow the Steelers, more importantly. So that's just fantastic. Great. I'm glad you're with us.
All right. First thing first, we got to talk about this. Tony is on week 3 of his own show, Steeler Brunch with Tony. Tony, it's going great. How you feel?
Thank you. I feel I'm starting to feel better with it. You know, it's like I keep saying, it's a challenge to talk that much without passing out. So hopefully I'll get better at it. You guys do a great job every week, like multiple times a week. So kudos to you guys.
How many times have you thought about the brunch option that Lance Williams wants you to bring on as far as eating food? Have you prepared a meal yet?
No, but what Lance did help me with is coming up with a way to talk about 5 different things last week instead of just one thing. I couldn't think of one thing that would last the entire show, so I figured I'd put 5 or 6 of them in there. And I thought of Lance's brunch and how it's sometimes like a buffet instead of one entree. So I'll thank him for that. I still haven't figured out a way to eat something during the show. That takes more of a veteran touch, I think. I'll need more practice.
Maybe we could go on a Rachel Ray type angle here where you just introduce a tailgating brunch recipe. Maybe you could do that in the there's something there.
Well, Bryan, I must say, people call me a troll already. I think if they got a taste of my cooking, they might really think I'm a troll.
You're not a good cook?
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
No.
Now, I consider myself actually a pretty good cook for certain things. I am. A lot of people don't know this. I'm a 4-time chili champion.
Oh, wow.
People's Choice Award winner in Pennsylvania and Maryland. So there you go. One of these days, I'd love to have a big tailgate with BTSC and a bowl of chili and have everybody come on by. It would be a lot of fun. But hey, let's get down to brass tacks, as they say. And before we get everything started, we already talked about one of the legends of BTSC, the podcasting family, Lance Williams. You could always catch Lance Williams on Fridays with Yeah, I Said It. You're going to hear him on the Homer and the Hater show on Sundays. And also, you will check out Lance. Actually, those are the 2 shows that we hear Lance on. And then you will also hear, Lance. I messed up. You actually hear Lance on the flagship. The Standard is a Standard on Wednesday evenings. And you're also going to hear one Jefferson Hartman on the Standard is the Standard. Jeff will be on the Homer and the Hater show as well with Lance. So you hear Jeff on the preview with Dave Schofield and myself on Thursday nights. Speaking of Dave Schofield, Dave and Big Bro Sco on Tuesday nights with the Stat Geek and the Stat Geek Q&A. And of course, Tony and I, you're going to get every Monday. If I've missed anything, I do apologize. But what I'm going to say is, remember, if you like the BTSC platform of podcasts, no matter which ones you like the best, whether you like Tony better than bad, that's cool with me, as long as you're liking SB Nation and Behind the Steel Curtain Radio on YouTube. Make sure you like it, subscribe, tell friends about it. Hey, it's free to subscribe. We're getting closer to that 6,000 that we're trying to get before the start of the season. So that would be absolutely amazing. Hey, we love doing this, and we love a chance to go ahead and do it with you guys. We can't do these shows without everybody in the live chat. So in about 25 minutes, we're going to ask your opinions on our topics. But let's get started with the big topic at hand. Big Ben Roethlisberger, beardless Ben Roethlisberger. In fact, I'm wearing my number 7 today. Just
Woohoo!
Yep, I'm wearing number 7, and I actually got this his rookie year. So this this is that old, this jersey, and I've kept it in pretty good shape. But he was on a plane, and he put out a video talking about how he's back and how he's ready for the season. But here's the thing. That's Ben, right? That's Ben's opinion. And I mean, of course, if I was in that position, I'd say I'm back because I know how I feel. But how will we know as fans? How will you know when Ben is, in parentheses, back? What do you think, Tony?
Well, I would normally say maybe by mini camp. If he gets enough work in a mini camp, it looks like there might not be a mini camp. But I think if he gets a couple weeks into training camp, hopefully at the end of July, early August, if there is a training camp, and you're hearing stories of how he's looking crisp and looking sharp and looking strong with his passes, and I think we can safely say he's back.
Okay, wait, hold on a second. Let me bring up James here. Now, did I not watch the whole video? It looked like other stuff from before. He wasn't beardless. The first part of the video was from last year. All he got was a trim. So maybe I just didn't watch the whole video.
Well, I mean, honestly, it was hard to. I was wondering about that too. But I mean, he didn't have an apparatus on his arm, and he started growing that beard sometime midway through the season. He looked pretty thin, and I'm wondering if he did the video after he got his trim. I don't know. It looked like a pretty recent video to me.
Okay, so Mark Davison, the pride of Steeler Nation Australia, says 3 TDs opening night. So 3 TDs on Monday Night Football against the Giants will say that he is back. Do you think he needs that many TDs?
I don't know if the number of TDs matter is just the kind of game that he has overall. I mean, if he looks like if it's a great game all around and he looks good while leading the offense, that'll be all I need to see. If it's a good performance, the Steelers win impressively because the Giants aren't a very good team. At least they weren't last year. That's all I would need. The number of touchdowns really, I don't think is all that important.
Hey, one of the Giants' defensive backs might be in prison by that time too, DeAndre Baker. That's craziness. But as far as Ben goes, I mean, of course he's going to say that he's back, but the proof is definitely in the pudding, and that's something we need to see. But I believed back in February, the first video that I saw, when instead of throwing a tennis ball, he was throwing a football. I kind of felt like he was back then. So I'm kind of thinking right now that I think he's back. And if that video was, I swear that video was from recent. Some people in the live chat are saying that it is from today or this weekend. But the thing about it for me is he looked trim too.
Yeah. Not
only trim beard, but he looked in playing weight. He looked a lot younger, and because man, that bushy hobo beard made him look a lot older, and it made him look larger. But now, but what I saw, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, well, I just wrote something about it a couple hours ago that will be published sometime, and I remarked that during in the throwing part of the video, he looked like with the beard, he looked like Santa Claus and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer before Mrs. Claus fattened him up. I mean, that's how thin he looked. I mean, he looked really good, and that's just as encouraging as anything else, because all the criticism he's faced this offseason for his conditioning, and that he always faces anyway. I think that's a good sign.
Okay, Brad says he's not going to come out of the gate throwing 50 times. He goes 15 for 25, 220. I'm happy. Of course, definitely. That's fantastic. Ezra, mark the tape. Ben will be MVP in 2020. You know what? I would love that. But Ezra, I will say one thing, and I have always said this about Ben Roethlisberger since I've been with the BTSC, and it's been 5 years. Will the NFL ever let him be MVP? I doubt it. But he could play one, and we can decry the fact that that he should have been, and that's good enough for me. As far as everything goes, though, Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, he says that he's playing without pain, and that's the thing. He had been playing with pain for a long time, so when he did not look sharp, that was always the thing. Okay, he's getting older, but it was that elbow. So if he could throw this year without pain, that would be fantastic. But remember, what we saw back in the second week of the season, that was scary. And the reason that was scary, because I'm sitting next to Dave Schofield. He was actually at my house watching the game. And Dave looked at me and said, he knew exactly what it was right away. Before they even mentioned it on television, he could see it hanging down before they even said that there's a problem. He noticed it. And he looked at me and said, yeah, he's going to be out the rest of the year. And sure enough, he was. And, Dave's a coach. Dave's been around. He knows that he knows that type of thing. But the thing for Ben Roethlisberger, for me, the most important thing, if he's out there without pain, and he's able to find these receivers and jump right back into it, he's going to be dangerous. You don't need 5,000 yards from Ben. You can take 4 or 3,800 and do pretty well. That's really all you need, because now he has the weapons. He's the most weapons. Would you agree, Tony? He probably has the most weapons that he's had in a long time.
Absolutely. I mean, with the addition of Chase Claypool, and then of course before that Eric Ebron, and of course his mere presence, as we mentioned several times, makes the running game better, and makes Vance McDonald better. From it puts him back to where he was 2 years ago potentially. So yeah, he's got a ton of weapons. I
think you forgot one, and you really didn't, but you forgot one, because it's Deontay Johnson. He never really had Deontay Johnson as a weapon. Maybe 6 quarters of him as a rookie, and really didn't throw in there. So, there you go with the running game. Now, a lot of people will disagree about the running game, but if you have a Ben Roethlisberger back, I still think you're going to have a more balanced running game. You're also going to have a chance for them not to stack the box, and Ben will have a chance to find these guys and also hand the ball off. He also has a weapon in Derek Watt. In the red zone, Derek Watt could be a weapon. I've seen him do it. He catches the ball well. He's going to have so many places where he can go. You throw in the fact that you have a guy like McFarland coming in here, Anthony McFarland Jr., who could be another option for the running game and the pass game to open things up. There's a lot of weapons on this team. Ezra is saying here, Ben has no excuses. Now we can keep up with the Chiefs. If the defense stays healthy, if everybody stays healthy, that's the number one thing. This could be a very special team. Faceless Man says Derek Watt can block too. And that's something that you did not have last year. We talk about losing Ben Roethlisberger last year, derailing the entire season. Rosie Nix was a big reason that running game didn't get going as well, being out. And he was out for a long time. I think he played maybe 6 healthy quarters or 6 quarters.
Yeah, honestly, I can't even remember seeing him play. I know he did play last year, but it was such a minimal amount. It's hard to remember him even being on the field. So yeah, having a legit fullback in that offense, especially for the running game, is going to make things so much better. I have a hard time believing the offensive line. I realize that it's getting older, but I have a hard time believing it's going to be that much older. It's gotten that much older in 2 years, since James Conner had a great start to his second season in 2018. I think, again, it's all about keeping the defense honest, and having Ben in there is going to keep the defense, as you said. You're not going to have eight men in the box. You can't do that now with if Ben is healthy and all the way back. You can't crowd the line of scrimmage to stop the run anymore. So it's just going to make everything so much better.
Dallas Quinley says, I want to see his deep ball. So that's my question for you, Tony. His deep ball the last few years, I don't want to say it's been suspect, but it's been off. Do you really think that that's going to change the fact that he is, and if he remains, pain-free?
Yeah, it's going to give him confidence. I mean, we've been speculating, and Kathy Ford mentioned a few minutes ago. It seems like more like a chronic thing, and it might have been something that had been bothering him for a couple of years, because we talked about it often 2 years ago. His deep ball was just off. It just was the entire season pretty much. So, with the surgery and then the extensive rehab, I think it could bring his fastball back, so to speak.
Healthy. If this offense stays healthy, is this the most balanced Steeler offense you have seen in the last 10 years or beyond?
I think there's potential for it to be as good as it's been since 2017, at least. 2017 was a really good year for the offense. And in 2018 too, with Randy Fichtner his first year as a coordinator, I think it has an opportunity to be very good. I mean, we've seen this offense function really well without Le'Veon Bell back when D'Angelo Williams had to take over in 2014 and 2015 and 2016. So it definitely has a chance to be. We've mentioned it several times. He's not gonna have to worry about pleasing one person anymore, because AB won't be there. So he'll be able to just go to the open man, whenever he wants, and not having to worry about a quota, so to speak.
Andrew Syback says 2020 is the best shot for a 7th trophy. No pain, Ben. Awesome defense. Best wide receiver group in a while. New coaches for scheming. Second easiest schedule. I do want to say something about the schedule. Do you remember what the strength of schedule was in 2008? The last year the Steelers won a Super Bowl?
It was historically strong.
It was the toughest in the league.
Yeah.
But I still like that. Ezra says, no, when we had Le'Veon, we were extremely balanced. Here's the thing about Le'Veon, though. Do you remember in the 2016 season at the end, Le'Veon Bell was there, but and this is when they played the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. But look at the wide receivers. Your number 2 wide receiver at that point was Kobe Hamilton.
Yeah,
because you had guys out. Of course, you didn't have Juju yet, and you still had what Martavis Bryant here and there. Right. But there you go. I mean, I really think that you might have this year, as far as if you have a healthy James Conner as well, then you're going to be in very good shape. But even if you miss a couple games out of James Conner, I really think, and this is where my buddy Lance and I are always going to disagree, I think Benny Snell Jr. could keep it going with as long as Ben's behind there and you have the receivers. Look what he did with Duck as a quarterback last year. Both times it seemed he really went off against the Los Angeles Chargers. He went off against the Cleveland Browns on December 1st. So that could be a possibility. Speaking of Lance Williams, offense was better when they had Bryant, AB, and Bell, but that's actually not what I was trying to bring up from Lance. He was talking about Ben's deep ball, and I had lost it. But you'll like this one. We'll just say this. No bad. Tony's right. There you go. You could hang your hat on that one.
Well, whatever I'm right about, I agree.
And so I think Young Boy 24 is right. This might be the most balanced Steeler team ever. Young Boy 24. Wouldn't that be great if that was Benny Snell Jr.?
Yeah.
Number 24.
Right. Well, I think
I want Benny Snell to come on the show.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
And then we'll gang up on Lance.
There you go.
There we go. Lance, I'm kidding. Kathy asked, do any of the current wide receivers compare to Bryant in style? Tony, I think you could answer that one right away.
Yeah, probably Chase Claypool now. I mean, he has the size and he's not nearly as fast as, it's not nearly as fast. He's what? Martavis was a 4.2. He's a 4.4. That's close enough. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely he has a chance, I should say, to be their best deep threat since Martavis.
What do you think about Deion Kane? Because I love this guy.
Well, in the limited opportunities he had last year, he did a really good job. I think he had a decent game against the Jets. I think didn't he have a big game against the Bengals at the end of the year? So, I mean, he definitely came on, and he has the speed. That's for sure. And we know how the Steelers are with finding and developing receivers. So there's a guy that might get lost in the shuffle as far as the offseason hype with the addition of Chase Claypool and Ben and everything. But yeah, he could be a real diamond in the rough if he seizes the opportunity.
I'm laughing at this one, and I was listening to everything you said, but I'm just laughing at Corey Foreman here. Get Edmonds and Dupree on the show. Lance will go crazy. LOL. We got to throw Benny Snell in there too.
Well, if you get those guys on there, it's going to be like Wayne's World. I'm going to be like Garth, and I won't be able to talk. I'll be so nervous. So that'd be pretty cool.
You know what? I'm gonna bring up Ezra here. I think Kane is definitely a dark horse, and I just don't see White making the team with McFarland in there too, being a 4th round draft pick. I think that there is going to be I don't think that running back stable is as bad as everybody thinks that it is, especially if you have a healthy James Conner. But with Snell in there, with what could be exciting from McFarland, gosh, we don't even know if I was going to say this. Now I just see his name. I'm going to bring up Brad. And Brad, is that you with the croquet mallet here? And who are you swinging that thing at? Mm-hmm. Or is that Halloween? I don't know. But he says Jalen Samuels is on the chopping block, and I really think he is. What's your thoughts on that, Tony?
I think this might be a chance for him to have a more established and defined role with if James Conner comes back 100% healthy. And I think Benny Snell is kind of like the same kind of running back as James Conner, so he could fit in maybe as the number 2 running back. He might not be the kind of athlete that James Conner is, but I think he showed a lot last year towards the end. And then with Anthony McFarland, he might be for the first season or two, he might be just a return specialist. We don't know what their plans are for him yet. They might get him worked in the offense, but you don't know. But I think Jalen Samuels, he showed enough over the first 2 years that I think he could be a decent 3rd down specialist out of the backfield. So I don't think they're ready to cut ties with him just yet. I think they can go 4 deep, and somebody like Kareth White, perhaps he has more practice squad eligibility.
You know what? It's going to be very interesting to see. Here we go. John Trent. We are going to have the most physical offense in the league. Connor, Snell, Claypool, Juju, our O-line. Teams will have a tough time for us. Time with us. And I definitely, John, I agree with you on that. I want to bring up this one, and because this is a great question. In fact, we could do an entire show on this one. Victory Asher says, but it's still true. Juju is not a true number 1 wideout. Tony, in your mind, is Juju Smith-Schuster a number 1 wideout?
If you go by his second year especially, then you could definitely make a great case for him. It's like I keep saying, there's so many unanswered questions from last year. There's so much that we don't know about a lot of these guys because Ben wasn't in there. And Juju, I mean, people don't realize this, but he drew a lot of double coverage. Like he took the double coverage that AB would normally take, and you have that combined with inexperienced quarterback play. It's hard to judge what Juju did, and he still wound up with 40 some receptions, 700 yards, whatever it was, and maybe the fact that he was drawing the double coverage opened things up for Deontay Johnson, opened things up for James Washington. So I think that remains to be seen. I think there's potential there. I mean, I think he's already shown a lot. I mean, he showed such a ton of potential his first 2 years. I think just to write him up as a number 1 based on last year, I think that's a little early right now.
All right. I want to bring somebody up here, and I want to bring up Daniel Noriega. I follow you guys every show, just never got to watch it live. Daniel, you're in. All right. Welcome to the live show. And we got to put you on the board if you're on the live show. So, those of you not on the live show, because we do have, we might get 100, 150 on the live show right now. We're at 107 live right now. But throughout the week, we should probably see about 1,500 to 2,000 during the season, maybe a whole lot more. than that. But if you aren't usually on the live show, feel free to throw in comments if you can on the YouTube show, and that's something we can always answer to, and give you that live feeling. It used to be Tony and I used to do on Blog Talk Radio, and we used to take callers, and some of those callers are still in here. They're not on right now, but Ken and Melvin, we hear those guys, we see those guys in the live chat, and I always smile when I see those guys pop up, because those were our conversations every single week. Now we've got to, if anybody, I got to say this, anybody out there knows, or if you're listening to it on the networks, not seeing it live, I got to find our good friend Vito from New Jersey. So if anybody knows where Vito is, we've got to hook up with him. I have his email address somewhere, Tony. I'm going to get a hold of him. But hey, listen, if you're not watching it live, doesn't mean you're not a huge part of our show. So thank you so much for listening. And Daniel, we're really glad to have you here. Dave Shipley agrees with me. Bad concurred. Samuels is back. Make Ben as comfortable as possible. I just don't know how much room they have back there. Somebody mentioned Trey Edmonds earlier too. I just don't see there being a spot for Trey either.
No.
But they might try to, if he has practice squad eligibility, and I don't know what it is, that's where you need Dave Schofield. Dave's on top of all of that stuff. So there you go. I just don't think there's room. Felicia, another great contributor to the show. Juju has shown growth and maturity. He may not get the touches, but he doesn't mind blocking and supporting others. Felicia, that is well said, because here's the thing. Juju is not afraid to go out there and block. He learned that kind of stuff, even though he didn't play with Hines Ward. He learned that from Hines Ward. He also was able to do it before in the past. He did it at USC. Then, and you saw the toughness on the Vontez Burfict hit that got him suspended for a game his rookie year as well. But here's the other thing about that. Chase Claypool, he also comes in with a fine blocking mentality, and that's definitely huge. So, here's the thing. I want to get back to Juju a little bit. You said it. You said a lot about it. Let's take 2019 and just call it an aberration. You almost need to put 2019 in a corner, because there's not much you could judge from that. And Dave Schofield and I were having this conversation earlier today on the phone, and he mentioned something to me that I hope he's not saving this for a show. I hope he's not saving this for an article. I think he is saving it for an article, but I'm just going to say it real quick. He's like, Juju's not the fumbler everybody thinks he is. And people think Juju is a huge fumbler. He said to.
Right. Yeah.
The problem is they came in two big spots,
right,
where we have not forgotten them. But here's the thing about. Go ahead.
I just want to. I saw somebody. It was a Ravens fan trolling, and people constantly bring that up about the two fumbles. And Antonio Brown's, I think it was his third season. It was a late season game against the Cowboys. He fumbled a punt in a game that if they would have won, they would have made the playoffs. It happens. Even the great ones occasionally fumble. It was a punt return, but still it was a fumble. So I think we need to it was two fumbles over 2 years or 3 years. Sorry, go ahead.
And Corey says, watch games. AB fumbled just as much. AB fumbled a lot. And so what's the B word? Yo, favorite Raven in the house. Hey, tell you what, I'll bring you up. Well, welcome to the show. And as long as you're cool, you're welcome in the show. And you can have fun with us. That's no problem. Just be a cool Raven fan. That's all I care about. And you'll be welcome in our house, right, Tony?
Absolutely.
Young boy says Juju fumbles at the wrong time. But here's the thing about Juju. Man, he was trying to make things happen in both of those games.
Right.
If he doesn't fumble against Baltimore, that's a win. If he doesn't fumble against, actually, that might be the playoffs. They might be in the playoffs. But then, if my aunt had a beard, she'd be my uncle. I mean, so you could say if all the time. Same thing against New Orleans as well. But, I think Juju is out to prove this year, not to himself, because I think he knows himself, but I think he wants everybody to know that he's serious about this year. Sure, he's playing for a contract too, but he's been working out like a maniac, everything we've seen from him. I think he is, I think he's kind of, has a little edge to him right now. And I think you're going to see a whole lot more of that. And, we always want Juju to be the fun guy that he is, but we want Juju to be professional. And, I have no problem with his professionality, but professionality is not a word. Please excuse me. But here's the thing. I really think when I call last year an aberration, he was getting doubled up. There was no running game to speak of to help out. The other guys on the team, the other guys in the receiving unit were pretty green. So it was easy to pay attention to him and let Deontay go, let James Washington go, and so on and so forth. I think this year you're going to see a lot more from Juju, but I really think that he is going to take put the leader hat on and really be a leader on that team. I think you're going to really I think next year around this time, you're going to be begging them to sign Juju to a new contract.
Right.
That's just my opinion. Young Boy says this, and I love it. Not Young Boy, I'm sorry. 98671X says Juju has quality fumbles. They're memorable.
Yeah, I mean, he also came through. His rookie year, that 69-yard catch and run at the end of the Patriots game that ended in disaster. I mean, if Ben doesn't throw a pick there, that's probably a legendary Steelers play that had they gone on to win the Super Bowl or go on a nice playoff run, we'd be talking about it forever. So, I mean, he's also come through a lot at clutch times, and guess what? He's probably going to fumble again at various times throughout his career. It happens. It just. So, like he said, they were just happened to be two high-profile, quote-unquote, quality fumbles.
Let's bring up Snowman here. He throws $5 in, and remember, you can throw $5. You could throw 50 cents in the live chat. We'll put you to the top of the queue. We appreciate that. That helps us with administrative costs and also contest. When we do try to throw a lot of money your way as well. So, thank you so much for the live chat, Snowman. Snowman is I make this joke the entire time. Snowman's our BTSC sugar daddy. He's always in the live chat for us, and we love you, man. We really do. Sorry, Tony, I haven't seen your show live yet because I've been working 6 days a week, but I will soon. That's awesome.
Thank you, Snowman. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to do, and you can go back and watch it after the fact. You can DVR it. That's what's the great thing about YouTube.
I'm going to bring up what's the B word 52 again. I have a channel too, bro. Just love talking ball. I've been watching y'all. You know what? That's awesome. Let us know what your channel is. Throw it up on here. No problem with that. Because here's the thing: we're sports fans. That we just like we like our teams to have different laundry as far as that goes. And like I said, as long as you're cool with us, we will be cool with you. And I'd love to check out your show. So let us know what your channel is as well. I have no problem with that. Hey, what do the Ravens fans and Steeler fans have in common?
They both have great organizations and a pretty rich history, at least recent history.
Well, that's true, but that's not where I was going. They both completely disrespect Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. And rightfully so.
Wait, what did I say wrong here? I have a couple of people saying about the Saints. I said New Orleans. I know I said New Orleans, but people were telling me it was the Saints. Yeah, it was the Saints in the end of the 2018 season. Ruined my Christmas. Ruined your Christmas too because we went on right afterwards. I remember. And then the Ravens game last year where he was trying to make something happen. In that game as well. James Kelbaugh, I love this, man. I accept Patriots. We are not cool with Patriots.
Hey, well, I mean, if the Steelers and Ravens weren't such great rivals, they could have they may have shared the recipe by now of how to beat the Patriots. They've had a pretty decent history with the Patriots over the last decade, but when you're rivals, you can't share your secret recipe, I guess.
Big E Bronco. We've got a Broncos fan in the house. Are you getting ready for week 2? A slipping the Broncos are going to give you a thumbs up at the end of it. Hey, that's going to be a really cool game. Home opener, Big E Bronco. Pittsburgh does not fare well against the Broncos, especially in Denver, but hasn't done as well with them at home. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they have a 9-20 record against Denver. That's something that could change. I think that Bronco team is getting better, and I really love what they have with Drew Lock. The receivers, man, they're serious about throwing the ball this year. I will tell you that. Right. They've got 2 good running backs. You had Melvin Gordon to that team with an already decent defense. I hate that you let Derek Wolfe walk to the Ravens. That kills me. But that should be a pretty good game. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a loss. I actually think Pittsburgh will come in. Well, they come in fired up for every game, but I think that'll be a heck of a game there. And I'm really thinking that they could win that ball game, Big E Bronco. But hey, I want to Bronco week 2. I want you to be on the show, and I'll let you talk smack all you want if they beat us. I have no problem with that. Dave Shipley throws in $5, so we appreciate that as well. Thank you, Dave Shipley. Dave's one of those guys that he'll just throw it in the pot without even a question. But hey, if you have a question, I'll throw it to the front of the line there. So Tony, we're going to open up some more to the live chat here. Anybody have anything else coming in? Throw your questions in, and Big E Bronco is going to be there week 2. John Trent says this, Tony. We have tall towers in Pittsburgh. Vance 6'4", Ebron 6'4", Claypool 6'4". We have mismatches for every team in the league mixed with the rest of our team. Wow, dangerous. Tony, is the number one thing health at this point?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they've had some, as we've experienced, they've had some pretty significant injuries over the last half decade or so, even going back further, that have kind of compromised their seasons and their postseason. So yeah, health is a big deal. This is a great defense, and if number 7 is back, potentially great offense. So yeah, health is the key for 2020.
What are we underestimating here, Tony? With this, I mean, what are we overestimating? Let me say that with the Steelers. Are we overestimating anything besides health? Or is this team mature enough to go to the second level?
I think the defense has a chance to get even better because of Devin Bush, of his potential. So, I don't think there's anything we're overestimating. I mean, you have to take into account the rest of the league and other teams getting better, like the Broncos, like we talked about, Drew Lock, a potentially great young quarterback. So you have to take into account the other teams. But other than that, I can't really think of anything other than maybe the season might not start on time, but I don't like to think about that right now.
Dallas Quinley asked Tony, is Juju comparable to Yancey Thigpen? And before we start this, one of my favorite all-time players is Yancey Thigpen. And I remember I actually saw his first touchdown reception. I was on the sideline for the 1992 game against the Colts. And I was in college. I was 20 years old. I got ran up. That's the game that you've heard me talk about getting run over by Dwight Stone. And I've had conversations with Dwight Stone in the last couple of years about it. In fact, one of the coolest guys, when Dwight Stone looked at me and said, "Did I hurt you?" I'm like, "No, I ran like a baby. I mean, I ran away." And you could see me, like, I watched the rebroadcast about a year ago when I first discovered McMillan and Wife, that shows all the old Steeler games on there that you can go back and watch. And you could see part of me. I knew what jacket I was wearing because I was wearing my UPJ fraternity jacket. I went to University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. You could see me running away. You can't see all of my face, but it's really fast. And I should have, I still think I should have stopped and taken the hit during that game, and I didn't. But one of the great, I would have made highlight. I would have,
yeah.
And Dwight's not a big man,
right?
But with the momentum coming in, he would have killed me. And I had a camera from Fox 8 in Johnstown, PA. They trusted me with a camera. I got zero footage. None of my footage was any good. But I got to go to the Cowboys post-game press conference. I got to do all this stuff. I got yelled at by an NBC cameraman. It was great. I went into the Pirates locker room. So there lots of great stuff. But one of the coolest things that day was watching Yancey Thigpen take a pass from Bubby Brister to the house. And I'm looking, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I know he came from San Diego. He got cut, but I love this guy. And Yancey became one of my favorites. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I had a chance to meet him at an autograph signing in Chantilly, Virginia. And the picture I showed him, I said, I'll never forget. I know exactly where this picture is. He goes, yeah, that's in the Super Bowl. He said, good eye. And he talked about that touchdown in the Super Bowl. And it was just like, there wasn't a big line. So he took some time to talk with me. And it was just so cool. It was like, it wasn't fan to athlete talking. It was just two dudes talking. And it felt really cool. I think Juju has more of a pedigree than Yancey Thigpen. But Yancey Thigpen was a number 1 wide receiver. Right. Nobody expected Yancey Thigpen to ever be a number 1 wide receiver. Heck, no one ever thought Hines Ward was going to be a number 1 wide receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster was brought in not to be a number 1 wide receiver because they thought that Gummy Richards, number 84, was going to be there for a long, long time. But here's the deal on that. He has the tools to be a number 1 guy. He was a number 1 guy for Sam Darnold at USC. You saw what he did to Penn State. I think Juju could be comparable in numbers to Yancey Thigpen. I think Juju could surpass Yancey Thigpen in numbers. If you stopped and said Juju had a Yancey Thigpen type career, I don't think anybody would be complaining with some of the years that he had, especially that year in '97.
Yeah. He was. The only thing that stopped him from being an all-time Steeler great was free agency, and the Steelers, they really didn't go after free agent, or they didn't really keep their own free agents back then. But ever since Heinz Field opened, they've been pretty adamant about that. So, we'll see what Juju. If Juju sticks around, I think he could be an all-time great here.
Who did they draft right after he left, though?
Hines Ward.
1998,
round 3 in
2
Georgia.
months later. Yep.
Yeah.
Loved it. I'm going to let you take this question, Tony.
What current Steelers are going to make it into the Hall of Fame? Well, that's easy. Of course, Big Ben. I think Pouncey has a good chance. If DeCastro keeps having the career that he's had up until this point, he's another Faneca, quietly one of the best guards, maybe the best guard in football. So I think DeCastro, and as we talked about Juju, and then of course there's so many guys on defense that are young, that are really young, that if they keep having the careers, they're like TJ Watt, of course, if he keeps having the career that he's had. Booger McFarland called out Cam Hayward and said, I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I never even thought of it at that point. Yeah.
I don't think so, but I think he could be.
It's a great compliment for sure.
That's an excellent compliment. I really don't think so, but that'd be awesome. And I think he is definitely one of those guys. He's the heart and soul, one of the hearts and souls of that defense. I'll give you another guy. I don't think Joe Hayden's going to go. I think he has made a case for it. He definitely made a case for the all 2010 team, the 2010s team. Mika definitely, if Mika could keep on doing what he's doing, I think he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. Perennial All-Pro. So I'll say that about Minka. That's how much I love Minka Fitzpatrick. There's a lot of guys on this team. As far as everything else, there could be some guys that we're not thinking of as well that could be a Hall of Famer. I mean, the guy we just talked about, who knows? Juju could be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
If his numbers get back.
Right.
Kriakis, my buddy Cree says, will Hayden go in as a Steeler? If Hayden went in I think he'd go in as a Steeler.
Yeah, I mean, if he is a Hall of Famer, that means that his entire Steeler career would have to be pretty extraordinary. It might even include a Super Bowl or two. That usually is pretty good on a player's resume. So I could see him definitely wanting to go in as a Steeler, like a la Kevin Green a few years ago.
I'm gonna bring up Big E Bronco again, and I love this. I know you guys are high on Juju Smith-Schuster, but the kid you all got in the second round this year in the draft is going to be a monster for you all. Thank you for saying that about Chase Claypool. The other guy that we think is actually going to continue to be a monster is Deontay Johnson. And another second rounder that from just 3 years ago, James Washington, has a chance to be very good. We're pretty high on that entire stable right now, especially the foursome, and we're pretty excited. It just all has to come together, and I'm really thrilled about what Claypool can do. I'm thrilled how Claypool can open up Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm thrilled how Juju can open up Claypool, and those just aren't the two guys. We talked about balance in the show earlier. And I went back to 2016 when it was Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, running back, wide receiver, but the other wide receiver is Kobe Hamilton.
Right.
So you know that's one of those things, Biggie, that you just have to. We've talked about their stables being great in the past years. I think this could be their best stable in a long time because we saw what happened with Martavis Bryant. A lot of extracurricular stuff there. So that's just one of those things that you can get into as being a problem. Deontay and Washington were both third round picks, Brian. No, Washington was a second round pick.
Yep.
Deontay was a third round pick last year. He seemed like a second rounder, but he was a third. But James Washington was the third round pick that year. The second round pick, and Mason Rudolph was the third round pick, and so was Juke Okorafor was the third round pick back in 2018. Nathaniel says that I feel like we have four great number two receivers in Juju, Washington, Claypool, and Johnson. Well, if they are great number two receivers, then one of them is going to be the number one of the number twos. And that'll, I mean, if you can get, here's the thing. If you can get 3,000 yards out of four wide receivers, Tony, and get 750 each out of them, you're going to take it. Right.
Yeah. And what's the difference?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the key to get that many. I mean, they always talk about having how great it would be to have three 1,000-yard receivers, and we've seen it with the Detroit Lions in the past and some other teams. I'm talking the Detroit Lions of the late 90s when they were running and shooting and going crazy. But if you had four receivers, got you 3,000 yards, that's pretty special. You throw in those tight ends. And I've talked about this about the tight ends. We talk about Vance McDonald in 2018, along with Jesse James. They were 1,000-yard tight end and had maybe combined 7 or 8 touchdowns. So I know that's two guys, but still in the tight end position, if you're getting it out of that, that's pretty good. Now you throw in the fact that you have a potential with Ebron and McDonald. They don't block, but they sure as heck catch. And you have other guys to block to help them out. That'll be great. Let's see. I've been asked to somebody asked me to go ahead and check out the question, and I lost it. It's Brad Jewett. Check my question, Bad. Brad, you might have to throw that in again, but I tell you what, if you throw it in again, okay, here it is. I think it's this one. Biggie, if you're a Bronco fan, I went to Penn State and I got to see KJ live every Saturday. You will love the kid. So you throw him in with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. My gosh, a lot of people were just hoping the Steelers could get a KJ Hamler. You know, I mean, now look at the two receivers they have there. That's going to be nasty if Drew Lock throws the ball well. it's going to be amazing there. So, Brad, if that's the question or the comment you wanted to make, fantastic. If not, throw in another one. Jeff Lauderdale, do you guys think that with a shortened off season, we could potentially see more guys play in the preseason that we usually wouldn't? Like to get timing down and things of that. Yeah. Tony, I think so. I mean, I think you're going to see more starters play. More guys. I think it's going to be tougher for a guy on the bubble to make the team this year if you're not having the mini camps and you're not having as much time. What do you think? Do you think you're going to be seeing more of Deontay Johnson in the preseason than you normally would?
Yeah, I think so, because I think as of right now anyway, they're scheduled to have 5 preseason games, right? Is that I know they're playing the Hall of Fame game. Does that mean they have 5, or has that been shortened yet to 3? I'm not sure.
No, but anyway, it's still going to be 5. Still going to be 5. I'm still not sure if that Hall of Fame game goes. Not sure about that, but we're right now it's on.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, for example, with somebody like Deontay Johnson, he's only a second-year player. You know how Tomlin treats those guys, so I think he's gonna get his work in. Same with Devin Bush and people like that. And I think I could see Juju getting extra time, and Ben, I don't know. I could see him maybe playing more, but spread out over maybe 2 or 3 games. Like, not a lot of time in each game, but definitely more than you've seen in the past, just so they know where he is by the time the season starts physically.
If there's 5 preseason games, I think you need to you still give them the first week off. But I still think you need to see at least 3 appearances.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
3 appearances from Ben Roethlisberger. And I would kind of think, and I would say you give them the preseason game against Carolina on the last Thursday off, but those 3 games in between, I would like to see that. Dallas Quinley asks, have we seen last of fallout from Harrison's comments? I think so. What do you think, Tony? I think they've been debunked.
I actually, I was honestly shocked that it was a big a deal was made of it as it was, because I listened to the whole podcast, and I focused on the end of his career here. I thought that was going to be the big story, and he just threw that in there as a little nugget that I thought was like, that was 10 years ago. I didn't think it was a big deal at all, and that was the thing that people picked up on. So I think another week or so, unless the NFL opens up an investigation, which I don't even know what they would investigate at this point. I think we've seen the last of it, or we will.
Well, I think one of the biggest things, and the guy that you could never trust, is the agent for the player. But when the agent from the player comes out and goes, that absolutely never happened.
Right, right.
So, I think that's the guy you trust in that point, because when he's saying something that his player against what his player said, and then, James backtracked. I mean, I kind of think James, I didn't see the interview. I've just read, I just read the stuff afterwards, but it was James trying to basically talk about Tomlin as a good coach, as a supportive coach. Is that what he was doing, or where'd that come out?
It happened during the period when they were talking about all the fines he was getting in 2010, when the league first started instituting all the safety rules for players for trying to take out headshots, and he just kind of threw that in there. He said Tomlin handed me a check. I won't say what's in the check, and that's basically all he said. And he didn't seem like he was trying to throw anybody under the bus, And I think he clarified it the next day on Twitter by saying, if you think it was some kind of a bounty thing, you're crazy. Or I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. How did we? It was something like, how did we compare this to Bountygate? But it's easy to. It sounds like a bounty when you say it, but it's the way it was presented. So we're going to go rapid fire since we're coming up on the top of the hour. Well, actually, we're past the top of the hour. But we're coming up on the hour mark. Victory Asher, bad. Will former Steeler backup quarterback Michael Vick get into the Hall of Fame with his background? I think so. That had nothing to do with the playing. I'm going to say yes, and based on his playing, probably should. Tony?
Well, I mean, I think he was borderline before everything happened. That might be they might hold that against him, but if he doesn't get in, I don't think it's going to be because of that. I think it's just going to be because, again, it was borderline his career as far as Hall of Fame credentials.
Dallas asked, do you see Mason playing any of this year if we have a big lead? Yes, and I hope you do. But Tony, I'll ask you this question in 10 seconds. How often do you expect them to have a big lead? Because in the last 5 or 6 years, they don't have a lot of big leads.
Yeah, it's not really a signature of the Tomlin era. They've never really had many big leads. They just always find a way to win at the end. So I don't expect it. I hope they do have some big leads, and if they do, then I don't see Ben saying I want to be out there with my guys like he always had in the past. I think they're gonna put him in bubble wrap and throw him on the sideline and put Mason in there.
Biggie Bronco says, hit the like button for all you leave these guys are giving you a platform to ask questions harder and working hard at doing it. Hey, that's really nice, Biggie. We really appreciate it. Gyro says this, back to the Michael Vick thing. Don't call me a dog hater or anything, but I actually like Vick. He made a mistake and learned his lesson. Plus he revolutionized the game. Look, I agree. And I have 3 dogs running around this house,
right?
And I love my dogs. I was not against them. I wasn't against them, the Steelers signing him back in 2015. He wasn't that good at that point. I wasn't against it because they needed a backup quarterback.
Right.
But if we're talking basically on your playing ability, I kind of thought he was that kind of guy that could have got in. I know you say he was on the fringe, but I think he was good enough to get in. Just Me throws in $5, and I lost Just Me here. I want to bring up Just Me and say thank you. Really appreciate it. We appreciate all your support. We got 120 live right now in the live chat, so awesome. We love you all. So thank you. Kyle Smith says he absolutely will not get in, even with the dog stuff. He just didn't have the stats. So that's and then JJ52 says Mike Vick should be in the HOF. So, really that's a good, you take the dog stuff out of it. We've got a great debate because we've got Tony and a few other people saying, yeah, he's kind of on the fringe. Me, I'm kind of with Gyro saying, I think he revolutionized the game, JJ52. So, that would be a great debate one of these days. So, really good. Just trying to read and I'm having some trouble doing it here. Let's see. Lance Williams says he's not a Hall of Famer. So there you go. Tate Boy says Mike Vick was a game changer. So go ahead, Tony.
It's kind of a double-edged sword because, if he didn't have his troubles, and he would have, his troubles occurred pretty much during what would have been the prime of his career. And he missed 2 years, 3 years because of that. So, it's hard to, if you throw 2 or 3 years in there, maybe he wins a Super Bowl, maybe he wins another MVP. Who knows? That's the tough part about that.
I know. I watched him I watched him in that tie game in 2002. I was I was at that game. And he was converted 2 3rd and 18s. And I was like, how are we letting this happen we had a good defense.
Yeah.
Last question we're going to bring up before we wrap up the show. Solomon Gilani, and if I messed up your name, I do apologize. Do Steelers need home field to make the Super Bowl? Tony.
Defense travels well in the playoffs. So as long as they have a good offense, I would like their chances in the playoffs. Look at the Titans last year. They had a really good run as a road team. So, with that defense, I think look at the Ravens and the 05 Steelers. You can win on the road if you have a really good defense.
All right. I got to bring this up. And I lost it. Dallas Quinley says, so Vic was gone 14 years in dog years. It's a great attempt. Here's the thing on that, Tony. I'm just going to say this. As far as the Steelers needing home field advantage, only one team gets home field advantage this year. And you saw what home field advantage did last year. The Baltimore Ravens lost it in their first game last year. We've seen the Steelers go into the Super Bowl a few times over the years, not as the number one seed, number one overall seed. I think it happened
since
once.
78. It hasn't happened since 78. Yeah. And they've made a lot since then.
So. Yeah. I mean, well, you got to think remember when the Chiefs lost to the Colts in 95, the Chiefs would have been the number one seed. And next, Pittsburgh has home field advantage. And then we've seen it a few times over the years, especially when the Jets went in and beat the Patriots as well in 2008. We saw them go in beating Denver on the road. So anyways, Ezra says, like the show, gang.
Thank you.
Please, Ezra. If this is been an enjoyable hour for you, please like the show. We appreciate it. Tell a friend. And we're so glad that you were here to do it for us, because I'm going to tell you this. We can't do this show without all of you on the right side of my screen typing in comments. And look, we had Brazil, we had Australia, we had a Ravens fan, we had a Denver fan. And that's great, because we're all a family here. And thank you all for joining our BTSC family. And one thing, as long as you're cool, we're always going to welcome you in our house. Absolutely. And that's the number one thing. And we love each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to spend with us. Two Jags just talking about the Steelers. And that's sorry if I called you that, Tony, but I mean, I called me one.
Been called worse.
But anyways, we love you all. Thank you. Tony Defeo, you're my boy. I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Catch Tony's show on Saturday. It's Brunch with Tony. It's going to be pretty good. And definitely check it out. And Ezra says, gang, after this virus stuff, let's pick a game to meet up. We're definitely going to do that again. We've got another fan from Brazil as well that I'm just seeing. Australia, Mark Davison saying, see you, mates. So for Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You can call me bad, just don't call me late for supper. But with that being said, to quote the great Roddy Piper, just when you think you've got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Good day, everybody.